The Eskin shower filter is another one of those brands heavily marketed on social media like a premium solution for dry skin, damaged hair, and all the usual problems people blame on shower water. It looks high-end, it's priced like a premium product, and the marketing makes it sound like it's packed with advanced filtration technology. But as always, what matters most to me is not the branding or the marketing or the sponsored videos on TikTok gushing about how freaking great it is, it's the data. So in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how the Eskin shower filter performed in our testing, where it scored well, where it fell short, and whether it's actually worth spending your money on. For shower filters, we now score contaminant reduction a little differently than we do with drinking water filters, because the main issues in shower water are different. Instead of focusing primarily on ingestion-related contaminants, we look at the contaminants that matter most in the shower itself: disinfection byproducts, disinfectant residual like chlorine, and hardness minerals. Those are the things that pose the most risk and cause the most issues in shower water in terms of skin, hair, and inhalation exposure. At the time of recording, the Eskin shower filter costs just under $150 up front, which puts it up there with other premium shower filters. They recommend filter replacement every 90 days, and based on that schedule, ongoing maintenance works out to about $144 per year. That gives it an estimated cost per gallon of about 2.5 cents and a projected 5-year ownership cost of around $869. So this is not a cheap shower filter, and at that price point, I expect performance to justify the spend. The Eskin is an all-in-one filtered shower head, meaning the filter cartridge sits inside the shower head itself rather than installing separately in line before your existing shower head. It comes in both a wall-mounted version, which is the one we tested, and a handheld version. The brand makes a big deal out of the filter cartridge supposedly having 15 layers of filtration media. They mention things like KDF 55, activated carbon, vitamin C, calcium sulfite, ceramic balls, magnetic energy balls, and a bunch of other media types that are supposed to improve skin and hair by removing chlorine, heavy metals, and other impurities. The filter is also marketed as having a pressure boosting design to help maintain shower flow. Now, there are a few things I do like. First, installation was fast and easy. Like with most point of view shower filters, this was a quick, beginner-friendly setup, and we had it installed within minutes. Second, the filter is also easy to maintain. Replacing the cartridge is simple and doesn't require removing the entire shower head. And third, it didn't significantly affect flow rate in our testing, which aligns with that claim about pressure boosting design. Now for the downsides, the biggest issue is that this filter delivered poor performance in the areas that matter most for a shower filter. It also has no performance certification for contaminant reduction, no material safety certification, and despite the premium presentation, the actual build quality felt cheaper and flimsier than I expected for a product at this price. And on top of that, some of the marketing claims are either misleading, overly vague, or just flat out questionable. So with that, let's get into our testing, because this is where this product really starts to fall apart. When I test a shower filter, the 3 main things I care about are disinfection byproducts, disinfectant residual like chlorine, and water hardness. Disinfection byproducts, or DBPs, are the biggest concern in shower water. These compounds form when chemicals used to disinfect water react with naturally occurring organic matter in the water, and they can be inhaled or absorbed through the skin during a shower. Then there's the disinfectant residual itself, most commonly chlorine or sometimes chloramines. It can contribute to dryness, irritation, and can be rough on color-treated hair. And then there's hardness. Hardness minerals like calcium and magnesium don't pose the same kind of health risk like DBPs, but they absolutely matter when it comes to the way your skin and hair feel after showering. For this test, we took a baseline sample from our regular non-filtering shower head, then installed the Eskin and collected a filtered sample directly from the unit. We sent the baseline and filtered samples to TapScore for lab analysis, and for chlorine, we did our own on-site testing using a digital colorimeter. We also measured flow rate under the same conditions, and our feed water pressure was about 30 psi with a water temperature of around 62 degrees Fahrenheit. And we used cold water for the lab samples because the DBPs we were most interested in are highly volatile and dissipate much faster from hot water. Testing cold water gave us more accurate data of the performance of the filter itself. Let's start with disinfection byproducts. In our baseline sample, we detected 3 DBPs, 8.24 parts per billion of bromoform, 2.12 ppb bromodichloromethane, and 4.67 ppb dibromochloromethane, all of which added to the 15.03 parts per billion of total THMs. After filtration with the Eskiin, none of those went down, and in fact, all 3 increased. Bromoform increased by 10%, bromodichloromethane increased by 25%, and dibromochloromethane increased by 43%. Now, just to be clear, I do not think that the filter itself somehow added DBPs to the water. This is much more likely the result of incidental variation in the source water between the 2 samples. But what this does tell us is that this filter did not demonstrate any meaningful reduction of these disinfection byproducts in our testing. Next up is chlorine, and for this test, our baseline sample measured 1.68 parts per million. After filtering through the Eskiin, chlorine measured 1.79 parts per million. Again, I don't think that the filter added chlorine. That slight increase is likely, again, incidental variation between tests. But the important takeaway, just like with the DBPs, is that the filter did not reduce chlorine at all in our testing. And that's especially disappointing because chlorine reduction is really the bare minimum I'd expect from a shower filter like this, especially one that's primarily marketed around improving skin and hair. Now, as for water hardness, our baseline water measured at 250 ppm, which is very hard. After filtration, hardness actually increased slightly to about 260 parts per million. Once again, this likely reflects normal fluctuation in the source water rather than the filter itself adding hardness. Importantly, this data indicates that there was no meaningful reduction of hardness either. So if you're hoping this filter is going to help with hard water related issues like dryness, soap not lathering well, that sticky feeling on your skin, or mineral buildup on glass shower doors, this filter is not going to help with that. And if hard water is your main issue, make sure to check the description where I'll link up my video on the best way to actually soften hard water for just one shower, especially if you're renting. Now let's talk about how the Eskiin shower filter scored in our system and why it ended up with a 7.29 out of 10 overall. For contaminant reduction, it scored a 6. This category is specifically weighted around the 3 main shower water concerns I already talked about: DBPs, disinfectant residual, and water hardness. DBPs carry the most weight at 50%, disinfectant residual is 35%, and hardness is 15%. So even though this product makes a lot of performance claims, it didn't demonstrate any meaningful reduction in those 3 core categories in our testing. This, along with its lack of official certification, resulted in the lowest possible score in this most important category. For filtration rate, the Eskiin scored a perfect 10. We measured an average flow rate of 1.74 gallons per minute compared to a baseline of 1.72 gallons per minute from our existing shower head. For design, it scored a 7.2. Visually, it looks modern and appealing, but once you actually handle the unit, the build doesn't really live up to that premium image. The plastic felt cheap and flimsy, which is not what I want to see on a shower filter this expensive. It's also not certified for material safety, and that hurt the score too. For setup, the Eskiin got a 9. Installation was straightforward. Remove the old shower head, wrap the threads with the included plumber's tape, screw the new head on, tighten it up, and you're basically done. The box includes an adjustable wrench, but in our case, we were able to hand tighten it without leaks. There were just 2 main potential leak points, and we didn't have any major issues getting it installed. For maintenance, it scored a 9.5. This is one of the easier shower filters to service because you don't have to remove the whole unit to change the cartridge. You just unscrew the spray plate plate at the front, swap the filter, reassemble it, and flush it. The recommended replacement interval is every 90 days, which is pretty standard for most shower filter brands. And this makes the ongoing maintenance cost reasonable at just 2.5 cents per gallon. For company policies, Eskiin scored an 8.35. They offer free US shipping and a 60-day return period, which is better than some brands. But the warranty, or lack thereof, is where the score takes a hit. As far as we could tell, there's no real long-term warranty beyond the short 7-day replacement window for defective or damaged items. Now, I want to spend a minute on how this brand markets their product. Eskiin makes several claims that don't make technical sense, overstate what the media can actually do, or use language that sounds impressive without actually meaning much. For example, they suggest that KDF 55 can reduce hard water. KDF does not soften water, and in our testing, we saw no evidence that this filter addressed hardness in any meaningful way. They also claim that the activated carbon can absorb chlorine, oxygen, and fluorine. First, activated carbon doesn't absorb contaminants like a sponge. It adsorbs them, which means contaminants stick to the surface of the carbon. Now, that might sound like a small, nitpicky detail, but this tells me that the copywriter lacks basic knowledge of how carbon filtration works. As for the claim itself, yes, activated carbon is commonly used to reduce chlorine, but then they're also claiming it reduces fluorine. Fluorine is an elemental gas, so I'm assuming what they actually meant is fluoride, which is sometimes added to municipal tap water supplies and has become highly controversial. The problem is that activated carbon is generally not effective at removing fluoride from water. So overall, this claim is sloppy and technically inaccurate, and makes me question how well this company actually understands the filter media they're talking about. Now, if you like seeing water filters put to the test and compared to the claims the brand makes, subscribe to the channel and like this video to let me know I should keep doing projects like this one. Then there's the PP cotton claim, where they imply it leaves your skin smoother and your hair softer. In reality, it's chlorine and hardness that typically cause skin and hair irritation in the shower, not necessarily suspended solids like dirt and rust. Sediment filters like PP cotton are there to protect subsequent downstream media from getting clogged and becoming less effective. And then you get into the really weird stuff like the magnetic energy ball, whatever that is, supposedly increasing, quote, good air ions and dissolved oxygen, or the ceramic ball making the water active and charged and killing bacteria. This is the kind of language that can sound exciting to the average uninformed buyer, but when you dig into it, it's either vague, misleading, or not scientifically supported. To me, this disconnect between the brand's marketing claims and what we saw in our actual performance data is a big red flag. It suggests this is just another private labeled, mass-produced Chinese product from a brand that jumped on the shower filter bandwagon without a background in, much less basic understanding of, water treatment. So if you haven't already guessed, I would not recommend the Eskiin shower filter. If your goal is to actually reduce chlorine, DBPs, or water hardness in the shower, there are simply better options. So stick around and watch the next videos coming up to see which shower filters performed the best and how to actually soften hard water for just one shower. Click or tap to keep watching.